Hey, what's up? It's Game Hydro. We got another video for you about Tales of Angels. But first of all, I wanted to say, if you clicked one of my Archero 2 videos expecting to hear sound on it and you didn't hear sound, I apologize for that. I somehow recorded and posted those 2 videos with the microphone turned off. So shows that, quality control is priority number 1 around these parts, right? Oh boy. Anyways, so we're going to go ahead onto the gallery because we've had some viewer requests to do a tier list of only the legendary maidens, because the legendary maidens are much easier to get than the aurora maidens and the mythic maidens. So we're going to do a tier list of the legendary maidens, which, if you've been playing this game for more than a week, you probably have all of them at this point. So without further ado, in fact, one of the legendary maidens, I won't say which one just yet, but one of the legendary maidens is my absolute favorite to have in the battle party, because her ultimate is massively overpowered and it can help clear adventure stages ridiculously quickly. If you know, you know. If you don't know, we're going to tell you. All right, the first legendary maiden that we're going to go over is Renee. She's a water type, and so let's look at her stats. She's definitely more of an attacker type. She's a maid, so she uses magic attack, and her 2 main skills are the Fish School Vortex is her ultimate, deals 169% magic damage to 4 random enemies with a 50% chance to reduce magic resistance by 25% for 2 turns. So not too bad. Helpful if you got another magic user in the party, but kind of basic. And primary skill is Fish Leap, which deals 137% magic damage to 3 random enemies with a 40% chance to inflict frozen. So frozen is nice because enemy units that get hit with frozen can't take action for 1 turn. Not too bad, pretty decent. I'll give her a A to an A- on the tier list, I suppose. Next up, we got Daisy, another water type. So her moves, okay, she's a warrior, so she's primarily going to deal physical damage, and her attack is higher and her health is a little lower. Her ultimate is Fatal Shot, which deals 403% physical damage to the enemy unit with the lowest hit points, with an additional 20% crit rate against units affected by frozen. If the target has less than 30%, increases damage by 25%. So pretty good if you want to pick off enemies one at a time. Casual Sniping is her main skill, deals 2 hits of 192% physical damage to random enemy units in the middle and back rows, and restores hit points equal to 30% of the damage dealt. Randomly splashes 1 additional target with 40% damage. So the fact that she recovers her hit points when she attacks is a pretty good boost. That means she's going to be pretty hard to kill, even without a guardian to protect her. We're going to give her a A tier for that one. Not quite A+, but getting pretty close to A+. Pretty effective when paired with the last one, because Renee freezes people and Daisy can do extra damage. All right, next one we got Freya. She's also a water type. And her skills, you got Chain Waltz, which restores hit points equal to 126% attack to the 3 allies with the lowest hit points, and applies Guard. Damage immunity plus 10, critical resistance plus 10%. Her main skill, Inspiring Whip, grants motivation to the top 3 highest attack allies, increasing their attack percentage by 25 and their defense by 15%. So she's a support, and her main deals are healing and buff. Good healer. Healing 3 in 1 turn is pretty strong, especially healing that much. So, and obviously her defense is pretty high. Her attack is a little lower, but I'm going to give her an A+ for that one. That's a good healer, and out of the 3 water types, I would probably pick her to be in the party. Next up, we got Sign. She's a fire type, horse sis. She's a mage, so primarily magic attack. Horse Blitz, as the ultimate skill, deals 126% physical damage to all enemies. Crit rate increases by 60% against enemies with Burning or Inferno. Deals an additional damage equal to 50% of attack to the enemy unit with the lowest hit points. If the target hit point is below 20%, they will be executed. Ignores shield, defense, and damage share, dealing damage equal to 20% of your target hit point, but no more than 4 times your attack. Yeah, a lot going on there, but that's a pretty strong skill. Horse Energy Wave prioritizes units in front and mid rows, dealing 137 magic damage to 3 random enemies, but they're in the front and the mid rows. Increases damage by 30% to targets with more than 60% hit points. I like the increase in damage to stronger targets rather than weaker targets. Has a 60% chance to inflict burning, reducing their magic resistance by 15% and also losing hit points equal to 15% of her attack each turn. And burning can be stacked up to 5 times. So prioritizes units in the front and mid rows, but that doesn't mean it won't target units in the back rows if they're there or if the front and mid rows are gone. I'm going to give her an A+ tier for that one. No true bad units yet, unlike some of the mythics. Next up, we got Sienna. Her stats are going to be, okay, she's a warrior, mainly physical damage, a little lower on the health side, slow speed. I don't know that I like that. She's the Shiba Inu sister. Yeah, we don't need to talk about Doge. Deals 198% physical damage to 3 enemies with the lowest defense, with a 90% chance to inflict burning. If the target has any buff, ignores 15% of their defense. And then this skill deals a 302% physical damage to the enemy unit with the highest attack power, with an 80% chance to dispel all of the target's buffs. If the target is a warrior or a mage, increases the damage by 20%. So this one's a strange one because the ultimate appears kind of weak, but the regular appears kind of strong. But I like the infliction of burning all across the board, with an 80% chance to dispel buffs. Debuffing, that's dispelling the buffs. That's pretty strong. But neither of those are blowing my skirt up too much, so I'm going to say A-. Now, moving on to fire type, Sophia is a guardian, so tank type. Her attack is a little high for a tank, and her health is a little low for a tank, but that's okay. We can work with that. Her ultimate is the Inferno Slash, which deals 147% physical damage to the row with the most enemies, with an 80% chance to inflict burning, and restores hit points equal to 58% of attack to yourself and to the ally with the lowest health. I like the healing in the middle of the attack there. Skill description for the non-ultimate. When killed for the first time in battle, the real Sophia will revive herself from death with 40% of max health and have her damage immunity increase by 15% and resistance by 20%, which lasts for 2 turns. 50% chance to inflict fear on enemies, reducing their attack power by 10%, lasting for 2 turns. So that self-healing in 2 different ways and self-revival puts her on another level for me. I'm going to put her in S- tier. S to S-. That Sophia definitely is one that should be in your party. Now moving on to the last 3, we got plant types. We don't have any light or dark types here. They are pretty much reserved for for the mythic and above, which is bizarre. But we got Ohm. She's a mage, strong attack power, good speed. Her ultimate is Frog Rain, deals 161% of magic damage to 4 random enemy units with a 30% chance to inflict petrifaction for 2 turns. If your speed is higher than that of the enemies, increases the chance of inflicting petrifaction to 50%. And petrifaction increases physical resistance by 10%, reduces magic resistance by 10%, can't take any action, and lasts for 2 turns. So basically, it's supposed to be petrification, turns them to stone, kind of like Medusa. That's not too bad. 30% chance, though. That's not that high of a chance. But her speed's pretty good. Anyways, Frog Bullets does a total of 400% magic damage, shared by enemies in the row with the lowest hit points, with each attack taking damage no more than each unit taking damage no more than 3.5 times your attack. So the less units are in that row, the more damage each individual unit will take. But if there's only one, they'll take 350%, not 400%. There's a 60% chance to inflict blind, lasting for 2 turns. If your speed is higher than that of the enemy, it increases your damage dealt by 20%. So this puts her speed at an advantage again here. Pretty strong attack. And blind reduces an enemy's hit rate by 20% for 2 turns. So they're going to miss more frequently. Good damage here. Neither of these is all that special to me, though. I'm going to say A-. Now, moving on, we've got Cororo. And this one is an interesting one. She's a warrior, so physical damage, obviously. Also has pretty good speed. 134, decent, really good attack, lowish health. But this ultimate, Raccoon Blade, deals 287% damage to the enemy unit with the lowest hit points. If the target is killed, cast this skill again. If the target is a guardian, it ignores 20% of their defense. That Raccoon Blade has powered me through countless amounts of adventure mode battles at light speed, because if her attack is strong enough, this has the potential to wipe out an entire enemy faction, like wipe out the entire board in one shot. So this makes her extremely good if you greatly overpower her and equip her with some excellent attack runes as well as strong equipment. Raccoon Clone Slash deals 417% physical damage to the enemy unit with the lowest hit points. If the target has less than 50% hit points, increases damage dealt by 25%. If the target is killed, restores hit points equal to 50% of damage dealt. So she's got some self-healing too, in addition to all the chaos she can create on the board with the ultimate. So Cororo, I'm giving S tier, potentially S+. Finally, we have Tsubaki. She has very low attack, but very high health and very high speed, which is an interesting combination. But she's a guardian, yeah. Her main skill is Self-Heal Ninjutsu, which dispels all CC and debuffs, restores 25% of max hit point, and grants 20% resistance for 2 turns. Gains continuous recovery, restoring 5% of your max hit point for 2 turns. That's a pretty good skill. And then Strike Ninjutsu deals 102% physical damage and additional damage equal to 10% of target's max hit points to enemies in the front and the mid rows. Equal to 10% of the target's max hit points. That can actually be pretty strong. Grants shield to a friendly unit with the lowest hit points, with durability being equal to 10% of the max hit points. So that ultimate can actually do a really large amount of damage to a large group of enemies in the front and the mid row. I'm going to go A+ tier for her. As weird as her combination of stats are, they can be pretty effective. However, in my mind, there's one clear favorite that stands out, and that is Cororo. In fact, almost all of my characters right now are mythic tier plus Tina, who's aurora tier. But Cororo is the only legendary tier that I currently have in all of my active battle parties for one reason, which is that insane raccoon blade skill, which can kill everybody which can wipe out the entire board. And if it doesn't wipe them out on the first turn, it can use it once it's used again after the cooldown's done. By the way, the cooldown only lasts 2 turns, which is pretty incredible. The raccoon blade being used again can end up wiping out the board the second or third time it's used. So by far, Cororo is probably the best one there. And if you're asking which of the other two should be added to any battle party, even around Mythic Maidens, Sophia is an excellent one with her revival stuff, and possibly Tsubaki is a really good one with that super high amount of damage that she does with her primary attack. No, scratch that, with her ultimate attack. So yeah, that is my tier list of legendary maidens only. And this one is, for most players, a little more practical because legendary maidens only. Most people that are watching probably have all of the legendary maidens, if not, or most of them if they don't have all of them. So that is my list. Anyways, this is Game Hydro. Hope you enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe if so.